I want to talk to you today about the archetypal victim. Real quick, archetypes are the energy patterns that form our identity. They're sort of types. The inner child is the most obvious one. We all have an inner child. But it could also be a rebel. It could be a warrior. It could be a princess. It could be a vampire. And we all have a relationship to a small cluster of these, and these kind of form our identity. But whereas not all of us necessarily are warriors, every single one of us has a relationship to the victim, whether we like it or not. This came up for me recently because I posed a question in my Facebook group, Your Spiritual Adventure. And the question was, when are you at war with reality? And the answers that came back were when I don't get what I want and when I don't get what I expected. And this reminded me of the archetypal victim. It's very easy to recognize the victim when it's about self-pity, when it's about complaining, when it's about trying to get somebody to do stuff for you. But it can come in other kind of disguised forms. And mostly the victim shows up around issues of what we want and need. And denying reality is actually one of them, because it disempowers us. When we do not acknowledge or accept reality, nothing changes. And we get to pretend that we are in a position of power. We can be judgmental or in mystery or criticizing, but things stay exactly as they are, and we end up being victimized by them. And while that illusion of power feels good for a while, it really doesn't usually last, and the real key is that it ends up damaging your self-esteem. So I'd like to give you an example of looking at my own victim. I whittled it down actually to two statements which really seem to be key. These were the things that clued me into the fact that my victim was present. And one of them was, it shouldn't be this way. And the other was, it's a slightly different version, it would be better if it was like this. And these were tricky because in both cases, I of course felt I was right. It shouldn't be this way. It would be better if it were different. The problem was it allowed me to stay at a distance and not look at my part in it. What it really allowed me to do was blame, to not take responsibility, to say, this out there, you're wrong. You should be different. You should change. I can't be what I want or have what I want or what I need. Remember issues of what I want or need, because things aren't right. That gave me the illusion of power, but while simultaneously disempowering me. So when I learned to recognize it, then I could do something about it. And what I did is I made an agreement with myself, which was when I noticed that thought form, however it showed up, what I would do was shift the focus from out there, where I felt the problem was, to myself. And I would ask myself, what responsibility can I take for this? So nothing's going to change unless I make it different. But also, a lot of times, part of the problem is in me, and I don't have to look at it as long as I'm finding fault out there. So the trick with the victim really is we find it very unattractive, and we don't want to identify with it for the most part. Every once in a while, we can use it to manipulate others or to gain sympathy, but for the most part, none of us really wants to be a victim. But the way to look at it that really benefits us the most is when you can see it as the victim shows up to warn us that we're about to become it. When I notice my victim happening, essentially what it's saying to me is, you're about to become me. Is that what you want? Or would you like to make a different choice? So in the end, being more aware of your victim is being more aware. It's a consciousness raiser.